So welcome, and today we're going to learn about food preparation, whole nourishing plant foods. And so if we look at the areas of longevity all around the world, they're eating foods close to nature that we evolved eating, that our bodies know what to do with, that we can envision growing. And part of what we notice too is that it has the whole rainbow of colors in it. And so we have a cupcake today, 2 flavors, and they are full of colors as well. So one is a pumpkin spice flavor, and that was made with pumpkin grown on the Cuesta College farm by Dean Harrell and his students. And then we have a purple sweet potato chocolate chip flavored. The frosting on the chocolate chip is chocolate ganache, made with almond milk, no added oils in any of these. And then the pumpkin muffin, it is a cream cheese frosting. The cream cheese is made with fermented almonds. And it's all sweetened with dates. And we used rolled grains as our flour for these. And so what that does is, what they found is the plants that we eat contain fiber, and that fiber passes through us and reaches our microbiome, our good bacteria. And if the grains are still semi-intact, if we're eating like whole grains or rolled grains, then they can create little communities inside of them. And they multiply, and they're eating the fiber, and they're having a little party. And so what we can do is, like, there's all different kinds of grains you can purchase rolled. You can go to the Natural Foods Co-op in SLO. And so I did oats and quinoa flakes. They're steamed and rolled. So you can just eat them as is if you wanted. I put them in my blender or my food processor, and I grind it up into a flour. And the particles are coarse enough so that it mimics what the size would, the smallest size if we were to like just chew. And that allows the maximum benefit health-wise. So those are our cupcakes for today. So what I thought I'd do is, like, this is my favorite kitchen gear. I use these almost every day. These are my workhorses. And so our first presentation was about, things you can grab off the grocery store shelf, and we don't have to prepare them. And so this is a little bit about preparation. So Donna, I know you have a limited amount of time. Like, what are your questions? Like, what are you interested in hearing more about?
So, I'm married to somebody who absolutely loves red meat.
Yes.
Okay, and so I'm interested in alternative meals that will satisfy him.
Yes. Okay. I'm gonna bring up, I have like the PowerPoint, but I kind of find these a little bit easier just to flip. So in meat, we have something called the flavor umami. And so when we're creating plant-based dishes that are equally satisfying and have that like, like hearty factor, we're basically layering umami. And so why does an aged steak taste so good? It's because those proteins have aged and broken down into what we know as glutamates. Mm-hmm. Monosodium glutamate is one of them. And so these glutamates naturally occur in protein-rich foods, including mushrooms, tomatoes, seaweeds, any kind of fermented bean, and fermented nuts, nutritional yeast, which is like a seasoning that makes things taste cheesy, sourdough, Vegemite, Marmite, wine, vinegar. And so I have a really great recipe that's over there that you can take a photo of, where you take maitake mushrooms, and you get 2 piping hot pans, and they could be cast iron. It's really heavy.
Right.
and then you sear them, the maitake mushrooms, between the pans.
Okay.
And then you brush them with like barbecue sauce. You can brush them with miso paste. I use a white miso, like a light colored. It just has a sort of a cheesy flavor. And when it roasts onto something or cooks onto something, then it gets like even better. Like the glutamates, you have even more umami. So not only do these foods have umami, but when you roast them and like brown them and grill them, then they have even more umami. So like a barbecue sauce would have like tomato and like chilies. And you could use chili powder, and then like some miso and some soy sauce, maybe some shoyu or some tamari. And you brush that on the mushrooms, and then you can either like sort of like cook it in a pan, so kind of brown it and crisp it, or if you have a grill, you can grill. That's really the ticket, is to grill it, because then it kind of crisps and like has that nice browning around it. And then you can serve it in a sandwich with some slaw. It's really hearty, really like meaty. For your husband, like he might not be ready to have 100% plant meal, and what might help him is to we can also, we can eat all plants one day a week, but we could also say like, okay, well, like we're gonna have the meat portion, and then we're gonna have something that has like a similar flavor profile, like identical seasoning.
Okay.
That's going to have a similar texture and flavor, but it's going to be plants. So you're able to eat half of the volume,
Right.
and that'll help process the meat too, and that'll help buffer the negative effects of the animal products in his system. And it also is like a way to like change his palate and adapt him, his body to sort of leaning into plants more.
Nice.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Sure. I'm going to see if I can find the recipe.
Okay.
There's these two gentlemen. I didn't print it. Did you sign? I'm going to write it next to your name, and I'm going to email you the link.
Thank you.
They have a cookbook. It is all guy food. It is like dude food.
Oh, awesome.
And I have a great documentary for you
Yeah.
on Netflix. Do you have Netflix? It's also on iTunes. It's called Game Changers.
Oh.
It's made for men.
Okay.
It's all about athletes
Uh-huh.
and performance, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And it was produced by James Cameron.
Oh, okay.
There are a lot of big names in it, like professional athletes.
Right.
It's a fun one.
Oh,
so
cool.
you might enjoy watching that
Yeah.
with you together.
That's a great recommendation. Thank you.
Vaga, do you have any things that you want to share that might be helpful for Donna?
Well, in terms of transitional foods, I found tempeh bacon is really a good substitute. You could take that and make it into meatballs or ground turkey. It can be substitute any kind of tempeh, but specifically the tempeh bacon is already marinated.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it's so easy.
Yeah, so that's a good one. That's not super processed like the other
Right.
burgers and stuff.
Right.
But maybe even though it's not healthy, maybe the Impossible Burger, just so you could see this is.
Oh, we had one.
Oh, you had one? Okay. That's not a regular thing though. That's
They're making all this wonderful
yeah.
vegan junk food now,
I know.
but it's not
Yeah.
really whole plant based.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's fun food. It's
Yeah.
it's special occasion food. It's fun
Yeah.
food.
It's so you can
Um,
still participate the way you want to participate
Yeah.
without compromising your health as much. even
What
though
did he
this is
think of it?
special.
Was he reject?
No, he thought it was good. He was like, oh, I would eat that again.
I've heard a lot of people who love meat say that exact thing.
Yeah.
I want another one.
Right. There's product that is made with soybeans, and they don't. It's not processed. It's like the whole soybean, and it's something about the way that they like. I think it's kind of like they kind of popped it or something, like with pressure,
Yeah.
and then dried it.
Oh.
And then so, like when you freeze tofu, for example,
Right.
in the freezer, it develops this really chewy sort of texture, which I prefer like the silky soft tofu myself, but some people want that chew, and like if you're using it in a dish, so like the soybean would have more of that chew of that product. I wish I could remember the name of it right now. But yeah, it's just like kind of like a popped soybeans, and you just basically put them in with your sauce, and they hydrate and really flavorful, and they don't fall apart like a normal bean would. Men are still kind of scared of. Well, a lot of us are still kind of scared of soy.
Right.
And I can give you a soy update if you're interested.
Yes, I would like this one.
Okay. So they've, first we heard about soy and it was miracle food and everyone needed soy. And then they were putting soy in everything and they were making it into a powder.
Right.
Making it into an isolate, which we didn't evolve eating. We don't find it in nature. So of course we ran into trouble down the road. And the research was indicating it's also genetically modified and sprayed with the pesticide glyphosate, which causes a lot of health issues, the glyphosate pesticide spray. So they were using this in research and seeing a lot of negative effects, understandably. But when they continued the research and looked at whole plant soy, we found that it has wonderful beneficial effects. It is similar to estrogen, so enough so that it will cover the estrogen receptor and make it so estrogen is not hitting the receptor. So it protects us from having overexposure to estrogen.
Okay.
We thought it was estrogenic itself,
Right.
but it's actually protective. So it has an anti-cancer effect for that reason. And men were also worried, like, estrogen, like, what will it do to me? But it is not estrogenic. And it's a legume. The healthiest regions on Earth, they are called blue zones by the National Geographic Society and researcher Dan Buettner. They all eat beans. That's their main protein source. And they're not wealthy. They are sort of forced into these healthy habits by circumstance. And they all eat beans. And so soybean is a wonderful bean to choose. Edamame, tempeh, which they developed in Indonesia, tofu, which they think it originally came from China and then spread everywhere. And so there's some other, like there's miso, there's tamari, there's soy sauce, there's
Soy milk.
Yeah, soy milk. Something called natto, which is sort of like a food you'd eat on a dare.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So when my granddaughter was born, it wasn't very long before she was diagnosed with a soy allergy.
Yes.
And so we went, and she lived with me for the first couple of years, her and her mother did. And so we could have no processed food in the house. So like if we were gonna have bread, I had to make it from scratch. Everything was made from scratch. And so they moved out, and they have kept that diet, even though she has a little bit of resistance to soy now, right?
Okay.
But she's 9, and she's like this incredible athlete, like this crazy athlete, And I really think it has a lot to do with her diet because, she still does not do the processed foods at any of the drive-through restaurants.
Yeah.
Or even really like the pizza is all made at home from scratch and, all that kind of stuff. So
Oh, she's a good case study.
I think she is.
I'm hoping to see like more nourishing food being made out in the world. Like I want to see more of like even Cuesta's events. Like it's an opportunity to like share nourishment. Like let's nourish each other. But yeah, so often we just have to make it at home these days for it to be oil free and just like whole and nourishing. I love that she's listening to her body, that you supported her in like tuning in. And it's so important because our GI tract is like the home of our gut flora, and the gut flora is the command center of our health.
Right.
And so if we have inflammation, it can make the gut leaky and lead to autoimmune diseases and a whole sort of like slippery slope of illness. And so I think that's wonderful that she was able to identify that, and she continues to like make food from scratch.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. I mean, she has all these other allergies too, like peanuts and pineapple and mango and like it's kind of like random stuff, you know. I'm sure there's some scientific connection. But when she was 3 and at daycare, her mother would always pack her lunch, right, and her snacks. And so the daycare workers noticed that this other little girl was taking Maddie's food. And so they were chastising the girls over it, right? And so the 2 little girls were like very determined that this other little girl was only going to eat the food that Maddie had in her lunch. Like they were determined about that. And the other little girl's mother didn't have health care for her. And so several months went by, and then finally she had health care for her, and she took her to the doctor, and it turned out that the little girl had a peanut allergy. She had a milk allergy. She had all the allergies Maddie had. And so we don't know, like, if it was just 3-year-old talk, like, this hurts my tummy, well, try this doesn't hurt my tummy. Like, we don't know.
Wow.
Probably.
I love that they found each other. How serendipitous. And they, like, supported each other, and, like, at 3, like, that's...
At 3.
Wow.
I know.
Wow.
It's a crazy story, huh?
Yeah. It's like, and, like, kids standing up for each other, and it's like, the adults are like, just drink the, and they're like, let's think about this for a minute.
Does it hurt you? Yeah, it hurts me.
I love that.
I know. And anyway, the way we found out was that the mother, was like, when the pediatrician was telling her all this, and anyway, when she went back, then the daycare workers put it together. They were like, oh my goodness, Maddie would never let her eat this or that, and then they were like, oh wow. So anyway,
Wow.
yeah, we found out that way.
Thank goodness for allergy testing.
I know, right? I know. So anyway, so food is very important to our overall health.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, how much, are you out of time?
No, a few more minutes.
So I have, there's some new ways of cooking that are on the scene, dry cooking. And so when I was growing up, the way that you cooked was you always start with oil.
Right.
And for a while we thought oil is really healthy. We were looking at the Mediterranean diet, and so now we understand that we want to eat the whole food. We don't want to eat anything where something has been extracted, concentrated, and then eat it in larger amounts than what we would consume in nature. Because what will happen then is our body will have an unhealthy response. So the same happens with oils. So like, for example, on a grain of quinoa, like that we had in our muffin, if I had extracted that oil and put it in a bottle and I was cooking with it, I would be eating more of that oil. Like, how much quinoa would I have had to eat in order to get that oil?
Right.
So, so we're learning dry cooking, sautéing, frying, and roasting. So, let's see. We have my pan here. I like stainless steel. It's non-reactive. It will last forever. My father bought me this steamer pot when I left for college, and I still have this, and it is not going anywhere because it's all metal, and it's made with stainless steel. So, and it also allows me to deglaze. So when I'm cooking without oil, I'll turn the heat on about medium, and I've got a special spatula. It's metal, and it has a straight edge. And if I'm looking online, sometimes they're sold as like brownie serving spatulas,
okay.
because you can cut with
Yes,
it, which
yeah.
is so it's also helpful for brownies. So that allows me to scrape the bottom of that pan, because what's going to start happening is the juices from the vegetable are going to start to brown on the bottom,
Right.
and that's flavor. That's umami. I like that,
Right.
but I don't want it to burn. So as soon as like I notice there's a glaze on the pan, as I'm stirring on medium heat, the whatever I'm cooking, the vegetables maybe, then I have a cup of water on the side. It could be broth, it could be wine, it could be juice, like a lemon juice, it could be whatever I want to add as a flavor. So mine is usually water. And I'll add like just enough water, not a lot, just enough water, so that when I stir it, that layer gets lifted off.
Right.
And it's coating the vegetables. And the vegetables are getting softer, but they're also, if I have the lid off, they're going to be crisping a little bit.
Right.
The more I have in my pan, the more it's layered, the more I'm putting the lid on, the more water I'm adding, the softer it's going to be. So it all depends on what I'm preparing. And so if I want it to be crispy, then I use very little water, and I don't overcrowd the pan. Single layer. And also what is great for crispiness is roasting. And so I like to use stainless steel as well. So let's say, for example, I want to make fries, potato wedges. And wedges, there's something magical about the wedge shape. It crisps up really well in the oven, more so than like a brick shape. And so I will cut up the vegetable, and then we need to seal it with something so that it doesn't dry out. A potato cooks so fast,
Right.
you could just toss the wedges on the baking sheet and roast them in the oven, and they will be good to go. But what you can also do is take some kind of sauce or paste, like barbecue sauce or a Dijon mustard, or you could even use some aquafaba, some bean water, if you don't want it to be perceptible, like don't want it to taste like
Right,
anything, like if
right.
you're cooking for kids. Tomato sauce, miso paste, and you just rub the outsides with that, put it in a single layer on the baking sheet, throw it in the oven, and it'll bake on and be a delicious like umami flavoring on the outside. I like to roast things whole. If I leave the skin intact on, say, like that potato, it seals in the moisture, and then I just eat it, and it's delicious. If I want it to be crispy, I can like smash it halfway through, and then it'll kind of crisp up on the edges. And that's how I make my soup stock.
Oh, you roast it.
So I cut up my veggies.
Yeah.
I massage them with white miso or garbanzo miso, something that is kind of light.
Right.
And because the dark ones are kind of bitter sometimes.
Yeah.
But whichever one you like, whichever one you have on hand.
Uh-huh.
And then whatever you want as a flavor in your soup.
Right.
You could even use like a soup base. There's like vegetable soup bases.
Mm-hmm.
Miso is
Yeah.
a little more natural.
Right.
And I just put it in a single layer
Uh-huh.
in my pan. And I roast it in the oven, and I'll turn it every so often. And that miso, that sauce, will caramelize, and the vegetables will brown, and you get that layering of umami,
Right.
and then your soup becomes a soup to die for.
When did you put the water in?
So after the vegetables are fully caramelized, hey Sherry,
Hi.
I saved
missed
you
it all.
2 cupcakes.
No.
No, you're good.
Are you being filmed right now?
Yes, we
Oh.
have.
I have to meet the prison at 3. We had a couple things come up, emergency things. I'm sorry I didn't make it earlier. Well, everything's good.
Are you going to
It's
be
good.
able to be here tonight?
It started. Is it supposed to start at 2?
Yeah.
And nobody else came.
Oh, Oh, that's totally expected.
Oh, yeah, that happens with the faculty.
Oh, yeah,
Lecture
any
series.
kind of like, yes, it's always been
We
like,
should just have called it web steps.
well, as it so happens, I have discovered that when the banner title is like food and party, the people
Yeah.
will come.
Yeah.
And so, but that's not really for this format. That doesn't work for this format so
know.
well. But I think that's
Do I still get to take my thing?
Oh,
I
yeah.
gotta go to the prisoner?
absolutely. And I actually
I gotta
set
go.
you
I'll see you
aside-
tonight at the prison. You're my second value.
Oh, good. I'm so glad you're able to come. And I have 2 minis, or you can have big ones if you
Oh,
want.
you set those aside
I
for
set
me?
those aside for you.
Wow, thank you.
They're so delicious
Yeah.
and moist and flavorful and like.
Sorry to interrupt you guys.
And the
It's
pumpkin is
beautiful.
from our farm.
You have to do it all again. Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe those can go to some special people.
Well,
All
it
the
is Tutor Appreciation Week,
Oh,
so
there you go.
yeah, we're gonna distribute them around to
Yes.
all the people who are hungry.
Good. The tutors will love, make sure they know how special these are. Look how cute. It was adorable.
Sorry to interrupt
No, no.
during your thing.
Yeah.
Good job. Did anybody get a picture? Did you get a picture?
I will.
Did somebody get a picture? Okay.
Hi, Sharon.
See you in a couple hours.
Okay. I love Cuesta College.
Yeah, I know. You know, I've never used miso soup as a coating before. I've just
Yeah.
always used it to make miso soup.
Mm.
So
Do you use the powder or the paste?
the paste, the
Great.
refrigerated paste.
That's
yeah.
what we want, is the
Yeah.
refrigerated paste.
Yeah.
I have a question. How much is okay to eat in a day of the miso foods?
Oh.
So part of what you can do is look at the sodium amount
Mm.
on the miso paste. Because basically it's like it's preserved with salt. And so I think like your taste buds will let you know when you like had enough miso, because the salt will stop you. And if it's just a coating, then it's like it's good.
Or
I
would
don't-
you cut it with something like chickpeas?
The
or something?
only concern I would have would be like just the sodium content of the miso. Yeah. But your taste buds will like prevent that from happening. So yeah, and so you can do that for like roasted fries. You can do it for soup bases.
When did you have the liquid? I didn't hear it.
Oh, I don't have the liquid.
Oh, you don't? Okay,
Oh,
so you roast
for the
it
soup.
soup, yeah.
For the soup. Oh, I'm sorry. So I am periodically scraping and like turning, and then when it gets like the miso kind of gets more of a deeper color,
Right.
like caramel, like it's coated in caramel, and the vegetables are starting for the softness that I want for my soup.
Right.
Then I will scrape it into my wonderful soup pot here. And mine is really nice because it tells you how many quarts it is.
Oh, very nice. I saw
So,
that on the inside.
If I want a quart of soup every day that I bring to work with me, because a brothy vegetable soup, it's basically a free food. There's almost no calories. It's very flavorful. I make soups that taste like Doritos. I make soups that taste like curry, like all those like flavors that we start craving when we're like, I've been here for how many hours and I can't leave yet. And so, and then so I add the water, and then I will have things that don't roast well in the oven in here. So broccoli dries out pretty easily, and it's a tough thing. The cruciferous, the brassicas, without a breading in the oven, they'll kind of dry out a little bit. So I'll just put the raw broccoli in here. I'll bring all of it to a boil. Make sure that kills everything. If there's any little if there is a little bug in the pot, then I've sterilized it, and then I ladle it into my jars after, and I'll taste it. I'll adjust the seasoning. I love tomato, so I'll dump like a jar of tomato sauce in there. If I want like a curry flavor of my soup, I'll use that in the rub. Like any kind of chilies or like cumin or those kind of
Right.
spices that benefit
Mhm.
from roasting, I'll put that in my paste that I'm massaging the vegetables with. So that way it'll like toast in the oven. If it's an herb, it would just burn. So I put it in here during the simmering stage. And that that umami layering kind of makes it like, I make the soup for people and they're like, what did you do?
You should do a whole class on just sea soups.
Oh, it'd be fun.
Yeah.
That'd be a good idea.
Yeah, and I usually throw in a green of some kind. Because we want to eat from the rainbow, and green, like an autumn leaf,
Mhm.
underneath that green chlorophyll is like all these other pigments, all these other colors, and so we have the opportunity to get a lot of bang for our buck. So yeah, and then nuggets. I could talk about how to make oil-free nuggets, like breaded, fried foods that aren't fried. I could talk about how to make your own almond milk or like nacho cheeses, whole plant pesto with no oil.
Well, obviously it's up to you, whatever you want to learn. But we're gonna make cauliflower nuggets tonight, so I would love
Oh.
to hear.
Oh, that's a good one.
And
Yeah.
that's another thing,
Yeah.
because my husband really is the same. and
Right.
These cauliflower wings, we use cauliflower in place of chicken.
Right.
And then another thing I was thinking too is chickpeas. We use a lot of mashed chickpeas,
Right.
or chickpeas good as like, like
Yeah.
chicken
Chickpeas are so
replacements is
neutral.
chickpea and cauliflower.
It's kind of nice. They're so versatile. Oh, and I just saw a recipe for it was like rice cauliflower used instead of chicken in larb. Have you ever tried the Thai dish larb?
Yeah.
It's a horrible name
Yeah.
I've had
for
tofu
a
larb.
delicious food.
Right.
Yeah.
And so it's all the seasonings that they put on the ground chicken,
Right.
but they use cauliflower
Oh.
and they put it in the lettuce leaves.
Oh.
And I'm like, still my heart. That's what I'm making this weekend for next week's lunches.
Oh,
Ooh.
nice.
What day are you gonna serve that?
I know. Every day. Batch cooking. All right, so this is my
Okay.
recipe for nuggets, and there's also a great video that I can send you a link to as well. So you are making a batter, then you have your crumbs, and then it goes onto your baking sheet. And cauliflower, it doesn't, broccoli doesn't work as well because the batter kind of gets stuck in between the florets and it doesn't crisp nicely. So that's kind of why cauliflower is so great. And it's sort of a neutral palate.
Right.
So you want to season your batter. If you're, let's say you don't want you want it to be, you're not so into the thick coating, you can go really light with your breading by just having aquafaba, which is your canned bean water, and so let's say I'm making eggplant parmesan. So I would take my slice of eggplant, I would put it in my aquafaba to coat it, to help those breadcrumbs stick, then onto my baking sheet, and into the oven I want a roasting temperature, like a browning temperature that will be hot on the outside to brown it, and then seal in that moisture so it'll get steamy and soft on the inside. That's a texture that most people really love. And that's a texture that I, whenever I'm doing a party or an event, all about that crispy outside with that steamy interior. French fries, nuggets, people really like that combination.
So like 450 or?
Yeah, I would do like 400. And so you, for cauliflower nuggets, it's more of a thicker batter in this recipe. So you would mix flour and water together until it is like a pancake batter consistency.
Okay.
You just want it to lightly coat the outside of the cauliflower so that those breadcrumbs will stick.
Right.
And I season my flour and water mixture. So I like to put in seasoned salt or sea salt, whatever. And then, I'm a big fan of paprika. Like, not the spicy one, but just like the really flavorful dried chili one. It gives it
Right.
a lovely color.
Right.
And garlic powder, onion powder. then you dip it in your breadcrumbs. I use Ezekiel sprouted bread,
Okay.
and I just I cut off the crust
Right.
because if the brown crust cooks in the oven, browns more, then it tastes kind of burnt.
Right.
So I'll cut off my crust. I'll just throw them in my food processor, and then they're crumbs. And I just dip my cauliflower in that, put it on my baking sheet, pop it in the oven, and that'll take about 15 minutes for the batter to set. If I want them to be hot wings, which I highly recommend if you like spicy food, you get Frank's sauce,
Mhm.
Frank's buffalo sauce, which is mainly like chilies and vinegar
Right.
and tastes like incredible. So you once the batter is set, but not like brown,
Right.
you dip it in the Frank's sauce, goes back on the baking sheet,
Uh-huh.
back in the oven, and then you bake it till it's crispy
Okay.
and like a little bit browned,
Right.
and eat it right away so it doesn't get soggy sitting around. Oh my gosh. And you have your dipping sauces, you have your like barbecue sauce or your some people like, you could do plant-based ranch, which you can make in your blender if you want.
What do you put in your ranch?
So I've seen recipes for hemp. You could use hemp seeds. That would be really allergen friendly. Most people can eat seeds, and so, but I personally most like the flavor of macadamia nuts and if I'm cooking for a group and I'm not so worried about like optimal vitamin content, then I would use like roasted cashews
Okay.
because it's going to taste a little nuttier.
Right.
And so it just, or I could use, if I wanted to be, if someone has a weight loss goal and I want to be able to eat, I want to be able to go for it. I want to
Right.
be able to just enjoy and like not have to worry about my figure. I would put chickpeas in the oven or white beans and then toast them so they taste toasted. And then I would put that in my blender with like a cooked potato.
Uh-huh.
Potato, any kind of roasted root, it's going to give something a really silky texture. Also, oats can give something a really silky texture, grains.
Oh.
And so a legume is going to be a little grainy.
Right.
And so that tuber really smooths out the palate. And then I put in like garlic and onion and maybe some fresh herb of some kind. All the seasonings that you put into ranch. I blend it up. Usually ranch isn't served hot, but let's say I was making a nacho sauce. So I put in, for a nacho sauce, it'd be kind of like the ranch, except I'd add chilies. If I don't want it to be spicy, it'd be bell pepper. If I want it to be spicy, it could be like red pasilla, red jalapeno, which are all at the farmer's market right now. And water and nutritional yeast to give it that cheesy flavor, and potato, and I don't put lemon in. There's vitamin C in the pepper. I think that's why,
Okay.
that's where it gets its little tang from. And I put onion and garlic, like not the powder, like the actual onion. The great thing about what I like about the Vitamix is that it will heat things. And so I put it on hyper speed for 6 minutes, and then I lift the lid, and a waft of steam comes out, and it has like been transformed into this beautiful bright orange nacho cheese that I can pour on everything. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, it's hard to find like an oil-free chip these days, and so there's actually some tostadas you can purchase if not locally, then online, that have no oil, and so they've like just crisped the tortillas, the corn tortillas, and you can kind of just crumble them up. You can also buy sprouted tortillas by Ezekiel and cut them into triangles and bake them in the oven. I find that most corn tortillas are so thick that when you dry them, it's like it's hard to eat. It's
Yeah.
too, it's like eating a shoe.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, they're too tough, yeah.
Yeah.
And so Veronica and I were actually like brainstorming. We're thinking
Yeah.
like we need to bring, nourishing chips to the people.
Oh,
Oil-free
nice.
chips.
Maybe just like using masa or corn flour and blending that together into a batter and then spreading it
Yeah.
and baking it.
Yes.
Oh, that's a
And
good
then
idea.
scoring it before you
Yeah.
before you bake it. That's what I used to do with raw chips, like in the dehydrator.
Yeah.
But those are a little like,
Those are thicker.
yeah, and they're like flexible.
Mm.
If you baked it,
Yeah.
I'm gonna try it.
We're gonna, I have a dehydrator too.
I do too, yeah.
So,
Okay.
We're gonna be coming out with that soon.
Yeah.
Everyone get ready.
Stay tuned.
Well, that's a great idea, because you could flavor the masa however you wanted to.
That's what we
Yeah.
talked about, putting the flavor in the chips.
In the chips.
Instead of,
So
and
the
maybe
coating.
on it, but.
Well, yeah,
Yeah.
usually what
Yeah.
adheres to the chip is the oil, right?
Exactly.
So if you take away the
Right.
oil, then if it's in the chip.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
a great solution.
We'll have to look through some raw, oh, you know, I used to make corn chips with corn, then you blend it in a blender and make actual corn chips like that in the dehydrator.
Yeah. And
So, because I have a dehydrator, so what did you just do a clump, or did you have a
No.
mold?
I would do, use a Teflex sheet,
Oh, okay, and then you just scored them
yeah.
and let them dry,
And then
okay.
use like flax or something as like a binder.
Yeah.
And then a bunch of seasoning.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
yeah, and I was just looking at a video of for Indigenous Peoples Day.
Uh-huh.
I remembered in high school that my anthropology teacher had taken us on all these wonderful excursions. I was at school in Sedona, Arizona.
Oh, wow.
So we go to like ruins and ceremonies and parties of all like the indigenous people in the area. And so it was a Hopi event, and they had this Hopi corn chip in a way. And so what they do is they have a stone that they make non-stick, and so they cure it, kind of like you would with a cast iron skillet. And then they have masa that is really watery, and they lightly coat the stone, the heated stone, with the watery masa until it's like paper thin, kind of like phyllo dough in appearance. And they'll fold it, like roll it,
Right.
and then that's like it doesn't go bad.
Right.
And they can eat it whenever. They can take it traveling, and it's like a rolled corn chip. But it's thinner. It's like
Oh, wow.
flaky.
Yeah,
And
sounds good.
so yeah, I was watching that video just a couple days ago, and now I want to make it, and I want Veronica
I've been thinking about
to
it
eat it
since I
too,
watched it too.
and I want to put seasonings in it.
Yeah.
And, yeah, because I have like a nonstick griddle.
Yeah.
It's gonna happen, Donna. We're gonna make some
It's gonna happen.
piki. We're gonna make piki.
Yay.